We have found 3 secret Isu language sentences uttered by some mysterious voices in a specific location connected to the Mastery Challenge game mode in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and these sentences might be tied to some past and some upcoming story updates for the game. Plus, we have tried to write them down and translate them with different degrees of success, and we even tried to see what they could mean lore-wise, and that's not all. In fact, there are even more upcoming Isu language mysteries coming from a report by AndyReloads dating a few weeks back, and this time we were able to fully solve and translate them. So let's pick up our Isu Language Dictionary and try to uncover more secrets tied to the upcoming content of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, you might remember that in part 2 of the Mastery Challenge game mode, which was released a little over a month ago, the old lady Hilderan, the descendant of an Isu/Valkyrie warrior called Hilder, who wanted to take revenge on Odin's reborn descendant, gave Eivor an artifact called Odin's Eye, telling her that it would have made a sound, it would have sung when getting closer to a small Isu location called Odin's Vault. This location, where Odin during the Isu times had hidden Hilder's armor, was located in the East Anglia region of England during the Viking Age, and when Eivor reached it, the artifact indeed made some sounds which got even stronger when Eivor found the actual entrance and then reached the antechamber to the vault. Eivor then moved on to complete the Mastery Challenges, then opened the vault's door, fought Hilderan and eventually gained the Valkyrie armor, but one of the things that I kept wondering about was the audio or voices that can still be heard in and around Odin's vault, and that doubt was also shared by some of you who even asked us about them in the comments. Did you hear them? They are faint, but there are indeed some voices uttering something, akin to some Isu voices from the past that are originally believed to be just some background sounds placed there to make the approach to this tiny fursive vault more solemn and epic. Turns out, I was wrong. In fact, as far as we know, there are 3 types of sounds that can be heard while being close to Odin's vault. Here they are. Yeah, they're not really identifiable voices even when taken individually, but when I listened to the first one, I actually recognized a couple of sounds that we have actually found last year, of all places, in the Tombs of the Fallen activity. Now, you might remember that in Tombs of the Fallen, Eivor wandered across 3 different caves in England that were used by the Britons as tombs for their fallen leaders, but in truth, those caverns were actually the locations for some prisons dating back to the Isu era, potentially being created by the Isu Odin, which even had a control room located close to Ravensthorpe. Within each of these caverns, Eivor could find an artifact that was similar to the one found in Odin's vault, and when she did, she pronounced an Isu word for each of them. The words were Hassum, Hroptoras, and Wenosud, which in our interpretation meant property or belonging of a plural group of entities, we still don't know what Hrob means, for the sake of one. So in Tombs of the Fallen we got 3 words out of the 3 tombs, that is Hassum, Hroptoras and Wenosud, with 2 tombs still to be opened in part 2 of the activity, which correspond to 2 more artifacts and thus 2 more words that are likely going to eventually make up a 5 words Isu language sentence containing Hassum, Hroptoras and Wenosud that is likely going to open the final door in the control room located next to Ravensthorpe. So Hassum, Hroptoras, Wenosud, and 2 more words, right? Let's listen to one of those voices from Odin's vault again. That's right, one of the Isu voices in Odin's vault in part 2 of the Mastery Challenge story is indeed already pronouncing the complete version of that final sentence. Now let's clean it up and slow it down. So yeah, you can hear the hasm, rhopteras and venosud words, but there's one more word before them and one after them. As expected, that's a 5-word Isu language sentence, and of course, you can bet we actually have an interpretation for the 2 missing words. The first one sounds like du or du, which is the Isu language pronoun for you in the second person singular, where the last one sounds like hoerasi, which is actually an imperative for the verb to activate or to turn on that we actually saw in the ending of Valhalla's main game when Sigurd activated the elevator of the Yggdrasil vault. And of course, the idea is that when playing part 2 of the Tombs of the Fallen activity, we're going to find one more artifact within each of the remaining 2 tombs, and upon finding them, Eivor will pronounce respectively the words du and hoerasi. So the resulting sentence, if our interpretation is correct, is du hasm rhopteras venosud hoerasi. Let's try and listen to it again to see if it matches. So hopefully that is the sentence, which, putting everything we know up until now together, should mean you activate or you open the property/belonging of some kind of group of people for the sake of one. Now, in the first part of the Tombs of the Fallen activity, Eivor did imply that the words that she spoke by finding the artifacts could be used all together, and many fans thought that the full sentence could be used to open the door placed on the ground in the control room of the Odin prisons, which would make sense, having Odin's reborn sage, Eivor, ask the temple to activate or to open the door that is the property of this group of people, maybe the Asgardian Isu or somebody else, for the sake of one, which could be herself. Again, it's a little too early to be sure, especially because we don't know what that group of people mentioned in the sentence is about, but we can still imagine how things might be playing out when opening that door when Tombs of the Fallen Part 2 gets released. Still, that sentence isn't the only one pronounced by the voices around Odin's vault. Like I mentioned earlier, there are 2 more, but we haven't been as successful in understanding what they are saying. Let's listen to them again. And here they are in their clean and slowed down version. So yeah, we weren't able to understand what they are saying in there, apart from getting that the third sentence seems to be a mix of the first one that we translated and the second one, so maybe that's going to be the final and full text that we are going to have to decrypt when part 2 of Tombs of the Fallen gets released. But if that wasn't enough, there is one more Isu language sentence that was reported a few weeks ago by AndyReloads and that has been found in the game files, somehow potentially tied to the second part of the Tombs of the Fallen activity as well. Now, I won't provide the context to the sentence because it might be a spoiler if the information proves to be true eventually, but if you're interested in it, I do suggest you check Andy's video out, and of course you can find the link in the description as well. Still, when Andy shared that sentence back in April, we did get to rewrite it both in our romanized version and with the actual Isu script, and of course we got to translate that as well. The sentence is pronounced as du guarasi ta un guarhru ru un marhaid, and it can be translated pretty easily, especially if you use our Isu language translator, right? The subject of the first part of the sentence is du, which is the second person singular pronoun that we saw earlier, meaning you. Then we have the first verb, which is guarasi, that is the second person singular present tense of the verb guar, that is to do, so we have you do. Then we have 2 more verbs. The first one is this one, guarhru ru, which we believe to be the first example of a passive infinitive form, as it contains hru that identifies a passive voice and an isolated ru that identifies the infinitive mood. This is again the verb to do, so this is to be done. The other verb is this, marhaid, which is the present tense of the verb to be able to or can. After having a look at the verbs, we can find the subject of this part of the sentence, which is this pronoun, ta, which means what or the things or the thing that. And finally we have the negation particle un, both here and here. So we have what you do or what you are going to do is not able to not be done. Or to better put it, what you do can't be undone, which seems to be a very direct warning that we might experience once we get to play Tombs of the Fallen Part 2. Maybe Eivor will be warned not to open the door and then she'll pronounce the sentence that opens it anyway. But as usual, we're going to have to wait and see how all of that will develop once the activity gets released. I actually believe that, aside from the teased but unconfirmed content about Eivor ending up in Vinland and any unforeseen plot twists, Tombs of the Fallen Part 2 is the content from the remainder of the post-launch for Valhalla that I'm looking forward to the most. Not that the bar is that high, but still. If only we might finally locate the remaining artifacts and find out how to get beyond that Isu door. And if you need an in-depth reminder about the underlying Isu storyline connected to the Tombs of the Fallen activity, Odin's prisons, and that specific door, you can check out our analysis where we had a look at everything we know so far. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.